Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time, another mini rant. This time I'm talking about a topic that I think should be talked about more. I think more people should be discussing this. This is something that has really honestly affected the genre of horror pretty severely and has really oversaturated it, and in a lot of ways has really made it pretty cliched and is really holding it back in my opinion. And that is the oversaturation and over-reliance on the final girl in the horror genre. The only reason why I am making this video is because I was inspired by a post on Facebook. A friend of mine, he was talking about how he's taking this college course, which is talking about sexism in films and television. And the teacher asked the class what they think is one of the most what genres do they think are the most sexist? And there was a young woman in the classroom who answered with the answer that really baffles me: horror genre. The horror genre is one of the most sexist. I absolutely disagree with that. I think that there are instances where it is sexist towards, towards females, but with the slut character and all of that for the most part. But that's in everywhere. That's even I mean, if you want to get really into it, I'd say the romantic comedy genre, which is specifically catered towards a female audience, is one of the most sexist genres I can think of. But the horror genre, I don't get it because this is a genre that's completely stock full. It's stocked. It's filled to the brim with strong female characters who usually end the film. So I don't really get why the horror genre, especially now, is considered the one of the most sexist genres. I really disagree with that. In fact, if you really want to go into sexism, it's actually sexist on the opposite side of the spectrum from what we normally hear about. When we hear about sexist, usually a lot of people associate it with the female gender, with that gender. But when it comes to horror films, I think you can make an argument that you can say that the male gender is the one that's being mistreated and not really given its due in horror films lately, which is really surprising. And it's really shocking to me that horror films and slasher films especially even just haunted house movies or ghost movies, right? I mean, pick any horror film you can think of, and I'm pretty sure there's a really high percentage of a chance that the lead is a girl, that and not a guy. There's not very many final guys. There's a ton of final girls, and there's even a movie called The Final Girls, but there's not very many final guys. And that's something that, there was kind of that was kind of prevalent when you had horror films in their heyday in the 80s as well. But you still had a lot of you still had a lot of male leads. It seemed more even to me in the 80s when you had the female lead horror film, but then you also had a male-led horror film. So it seemed like there was still a balance to that. Nowadays, though, it's completely overbalanced. It's completely tipped to the scale of female leads, and the male, it doesn't even weigh. It doesn't even end up creating the weight of a feather. It's very, very, very low. It's a very low percentage. I can't even think of one. I mean, some people might point out like The Purge Anarchy, but that's not a horror film. That's like saying Escape from New York is a horror movie. It's not really a horror movie, in my opinion. It's more of an action film. So, I mean, you have the collector movies, but that's really about, I can't even think of anything else other than that. I mean, It Follows is a film I really enjoyed, but female lead. I mean, you have males in supporting character roles that could be strong, but for the most part, they're not the lead. There's a lot of instances where you also have male characters who have kind of become like the female characters used to be in back in the day, where they're the dumb guy, they're the dumb character, or they're the one that's always thinking about sex, or they're just the comic relief. So it's interesting to think about. And I don't understand why. I think it was, I do understand why the change was originally made, because in horror films, especially early on, the female, it was pretty sexist. I mean, towards the female gender. I mean, they didn't really have very strong characters. They were always a damsel in distress and screaming at everything and whatever. Understandable. So films like Halloween came along, John Carpenter's Halloween, and Alien, and they gave, the female gender a strong character that was as strong as the male. But when those films came out, it was actually unique, and it was actually a twist, and it was something that hadn't been seen before. And so people were able to appreciate it more. See, the thing is, I can't really appreciate something or like or really love something unless I learn to miss it. Unless I actually, it goes away and then I miss it and then I learn to appreciate it. The final girl has never gone away. It's always been prevalent, and even more prevalent now in the horror genre. So I can't really miss it, and I can't really necessarily appreciate it anymore either, because it's become so oversaturated and it's just so much. It's just every horror film you can think of, direct to video or theatrical, is more than likely going to have a female lead. It's gotten to the point where it's become its own cliche. So I just think it's now is a perfect time when the horror genre is struggling, especially in the mainstream, to really make a dent, to really do something different. I really think now is time to start giving audiences more male leads in horror films. And it's not because I'm trying to be sexist towards the women or I'm trying to whatever. It's the main thing is it's tiresome. I'm tired of seeing every horror film I can think of have a female lead. It's really boring. It's nothing against women in general. It's just the fact that it's been so overdone and so overplayed now that it's no longer something that is unique. It's no longer something that is, oh wow, it's about time women got their due, and got strong characters and everything. Now it's just a complete and utter expectance. You expect it to happen. It's expected. So then it's not really, you can't really necessarily appreciate it as much as you would if it wasn't as expected, if it wasn't as familiar. And I'm not saying that we should do away with female leads in horror films entirely. Absolutely not. That's not my agenda at all. I think we should have both, but we don't have both. We pretty much have female lead, female lead, female lead, female lead, and more female leads. I mean, if you have a male lead, that's a very rare occurrence, and it's a very small percentage. There's a very slim chance that a horror film will have a male lead. So that's the thing. That's what I'm asking for: equality for male leads in horror films. I don't really think that's too much to ask for, to be honest. And it's gotten so bad that there have been characters who were specifically written to be male who have been turned female because they act feminine. Case in point, you have the video game adaptation, the movie adaptation of the video game Silent Hill. This adaptation originally was being based on the original games, the first few games, which had a male lead in them. Well, for some reason, the producers of the film saw that the character was a loving, caring, kind, single father who felt for his child and was emotional at times, so they considered that to be feminine and then changed his gender. And that's why the Silent Hill movie has a female lead instead of a male one. I don't know about you, but that's bullshit. I haven't even really played the game, but even though I haven't played the game, that's still bullshit. That's a really bullshit excuse. And that's sexist both ways. That's like the worst possible bit of sexism. That's like sexist towards the female gender. It's sexist towards the male gender. It's sexist towards both genders. To think that just being kind and caring and a little bit emotional for your child is feminine behavior, and to change the male character into a female character because he's acting feminine. I mean, that is just absolutely an utter pile of bullshit. So you have that problem. That's prevalent. That's prevalent in Hollywood. I mean, it's definitely obvious. I don't understand why it's so taboo or so hard for horror films to have a male lead anymore. Where are the McCrady's? Where are they? Like, where are they in this genre? Where are the Corporal Hickses? Where are these characters? I mean, you have films like like I said, The Collector and The Collection. I don't know if I mentioned that or not, but mention it now. You maybe like Wolf Cop. That's a directed. That's an independent film. When you talk about the mainstream, it's hard, and even in the independent genre, it's hard to find a male lead in a horror film. It's like looking for a needle in a haystack for some reason. So I don't get it. It just boggles my mind like why this is so difficult. And it's gotten to the point where it's become a female dominated genre where they're the ones with the strong characters. They're the ones with the lead characters. And the men, well, they don't really have much. They're lucky if they get a supporting role. And I don't understand why the genre has become so orientated towards the opposite sex. I don't understand. I think it should be orientated towards both sexes. And in fact, from what I keep hearing from people, from a lot of girls that I know on the outside, because I know there's a lot of diehard horror girls, but I'm just saying there's a lot of them who don't even like the genre to begin with. In fact, hate it. They can't stand watching scary movies. But the genre is trying to appeal to them, to an audience that doesn't necessarily even really appreciate it. But there are, girls, like I said, who do appreciate it and do really like it. But I'm pretty sure even they might be they might, even they probably are getting tired of seeing final girl after final girl after final girl after final girl in almost every single horror film that is released in theaters or otherwise. I think there's a movie called The Hollow, which I think has like a male lead, I think, and I still haven't seen it yet, but I'm curious about it. It's just nice, it's refreshing, and it's actually, I can appreciate a male lead in a horror film because it is so rare. When you have a female lead nowadays, it's not rare anymore. It's not really something that is, I guess it's just become so homogenized. It has become so commonplace that it's just, like I said, it's become a cliche, and it's kind of gotten really annoying for the most part because it's just, again, really, you can't give a horror film a male lead. It's not fucking possible. It's just one of those things that's frustrating for me. And not because I'm a guy, it's because I'm a fan of horror films. And I don't want horror films to be considered just a bunch of, the same old, same old. And that's the thing. When you have a horror film and it's pretty much the same type of lead in every movie, that gets old. That gets tiresome. And I don't want that to happen to the genre because I love the genre and I appreciate the genre and I really like the genre. But there are things about it I definitely don't really like, and this is one of them. It's something. It's become oversaturated, just like the slasher genre did. When there's too many slasher movies, the same thing has happened now with the female lead in a horror film. It's become so oversaturated at the point that it's almost close to it being a parody. In fact, Final Girls even, I think it was a parody. Final Girls was a parody movie. There's a show called Scream Queens on TV that's almost to the point of parody. It's really gotten it's jumped the shark a long time ago. It's time to do something different. It's time to have more male leads in horror films. And it's nothing to do with sexism. In some ways it does. I mean, especially with the stuff with Silent Hill. In other instances, let's just give it something different. Let's just something unique. Let's change it up. Let's switch things around. I mean, that's why Sigourney Weaver became Ripley. is because the character was originally a male, and then the writers decided, let's make him a female. Let's do something different. And I think it's time to return to that way of thinking, but this time, surprisingly, with the male. Which I know, it's really crazy how these roles have reversed in this genre. But anyway, I don't know what else to say except thank you for watching. Let me know what you guys think down below, guys and gals, if there's any girls who are watching. There probably aren't. But anyway, let me know what you think in the comments down below. What do you feel? Do you think that the horror genre has become oversaturated with final girls? If not, let me know. If so, let me know as well. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys later. See ya.